Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I know it's been quite a while since my last video. I just want to apologize for the amount of time that's sort of been in between videos that I put up. But I also want to thank those who have sort of stuck by me or understood the situation. Basically, we're into summer now, and it can be a very difficult time of year to try to have videos made during. With school out, our daughter's been home a lot more. And we've also had several days that were hot enough that there was an Environment Canada heat warning for our area, to the point where couldn't record videos during the day just because I didn't have the apartment to myself, and I was just too dragged out and exhausted just from the heat by the end of the day to make videos during the evening. So again, I apologize for video uploads being kind of sparse. That will probably continue until we get back into September. Although August is going to have, I'm going to make a definite effort to get at least a few videos out, because Pathfinder 2nd Edition is releasing in August, and I'm should be receiving the review copies of the core book and the bestiary within the next week or so. So I should have them right around the time of release. But today I noticed on my Facebook feed that Paizo had published the official character sheet for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So I thought, just to try to get something out, because it's been so long, I thought it would be interesting to sort of take a look at the changes made to the character sheets from the playtest period until the current version that they have. So we're going to take a look at those sheets. Also, before I sort of get a little bit of a closer look here, I do want to apologize for the odd sort of coloration of the sheets. Apparently, my colored ink is almost gone, and apparently if you print it with, even if you select it as grayscale, if you also select the save ink, save ink / toner, apparently it still uses the colored ink, and I didn't know that, and I just printed the sheets off one right after the other. So the coloration is going to look a little odd, and I didn't really feel like wasting more ink to try to get just the black and white one. So these will be fine for the purposes of this video. So what I have here is the Pathfinder playtest character sheet. This is version 1.2. This was the revised version of the sheet that came out after Paizo had removed the signature skill trait from the character sheet. And honestly, I kind of liked the concept of signature skills, and I thought that they could have been reworked more instead of just dropped. But I'm not going to get into that here. So that's the version of the character sheet that I have, and then I've got the official Pathfinder 2nd Edition sheet here as well. So let's just go ahead and look at sort of the basics of it here. So the playtest sheet was oriented horizontally instead of a vertical sheet like most the character sheets are for role-playing games today. But I thought it was actually a pretty decent sheet, the way that it was laid out. And this was a 3-page character sheet, and because of the way that they sort of had it oriented, it seemed like you could fit more on there. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, and that's what we're going to look at here in a moment, but you just sort of got the impression that maybe there was more stuff crammed into these sheets. But we have this as a 3-page sheet that's horizontal. And then we've got the vertical sheet here. So this is the final one that we have. But this is actually a one, two, I should also say the humidity's up, so it makes separating these sheets kind of difficult. So we got 2, this is a 3, and then we have a 4-page character sheet for the actual 2nd edition. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what we have on the first sheet here. So we're going to take a look at the playtest one first. We have our basic character information, character name, ancestry, size, background, class, alignment, deity, age, gender, languages. Then we have our ability scores. We have our speed as well as hero points. Oh, let's just bring that a little bit. Actually, why don't I just zoom in here. So we have speed, and then we have our hit points, we have our senses, we have perception, saving throws, fortitude, reflex, will, and then we have our armor class versus regular armor class, and then we have touch armor class. And then over here we have our weapon information, so we have our weapon proficiencies as well as their training levels, and that seems to be something that has carried over. You have trained, expert, master, and legendary levels of training. So you have your weapons, you have your armors, as well as shields, and then it has a spot for 3 melee weapons and 2 ranged weapons. You also have like your traits, your if it's bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, damage, bonus information. Like I said, we got the traits there, we got the range attacks, and then we have our skills, which have our training levels as well, all the breakdowns there, as well as actions and activities, and reactions and free actions. So that's what's on the first page of that sheet. So on our brand new character sheet, we'll just take a look. So we got all the character information, but one of the things that I kind of like here is on the sheet itself, it actually gives you what the levels of training are. So we have proficiency. If you're untrained, you get +0. If you're trained, you get 2 plus your level. If you're an expert, you get 4 plus your level. Master is 6 plus your level, and legendary is 8 plus your level. So that was one of the things from the playtest that they did modify pretty early, because at first it was 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they did actually increase the amount that these different levels of training gave you, and it definitely makes the difference between being trained and just like basically trained and then having legendary. It makes it feel significant, you know, from a difference of +6 does make a big difference from it being a difference of 3. So I do like that. Then we also have how to read some of the abilities. So we have the symbol here. If there's just like one of these sort of like the black arrows sort of put into a diamond, that's a single action. And if there's if it looks like that, it is a 2-action activity. If it looks like this one here, it's a 3-action activity. If it's white, it's a free action instead of a single action. And if it's got the little sort of curved arrow, it is a reaction. So I do like that it sort of breaks that down on the sheet as well. Especially with this is sort of a brand new way of organizing and displaying the ability. So I do like that they have that there. And then we have all the pertinent character information here, including level, hero points, our ability scores. We have our class DC, which was on the other sheet as well. I just forgot to mention that with the speed. So we do have that there as well. We have speed and feat, and we also have movement types and notes. So if you have like a flying speed, a climb speed, or burrow, or something like that, or items that confer those types of movements, you have that there as well. So that's pretty cool. Then we have our armor class. And so this is supposed to look like sort of a suit of armor, just where my printer's getting low, it did miss some of the lines. I'm not too worried about that, but I do kind of like the little symbols there. So we have armor class with everything that we need there, as well as the proficiencies are incorporated into the actual AC section. So they did organize that, in my opinion, a little bit better. So they have your proficiencies along with what your armor is, what applies to it. And then we have our shields, and I don't think there was a spot for shield actually on the other sheet. So we just had that there. And I didn't actually notice this, but we did have some proficiency information here, so we do have some changes. I didn't notice that. So we have untrained. So if you're untrained in something, you get a penalty of -4. This was with the playtest. And then if you were trained, your bonus was equal to your level, and then expert was +1, +2, and +3. So still not a huge improvement there. So this is before they did make that change. But it was kind of cool that it's there. But there's no information on shields, so shields can be used to absorb hits, basically. You can have damage negated by an amount equal to its hardness. So it does have like the hardness information there, as well as the max hit points. I don't know what BT stands for. I'll have a better idea once I get the actual book, and then we've got whatever the current hit points are for the shield. So that's probably the amount of times it can sustain hits. I know before it was like dense or broken. So that's probably what that became, I would imagine, is like the hit points for the item. But that's pretty cool that we have that there. We also have our saving throws all grouped together and organized vertically as well. And I don't mind that. We also have some notes here as well, so there might be other things that you may apply. Hit points, we got the little heart there. You put your maximum inside of the circle there, inside the heart, and you have a little space to write down your current hit points, temporary, dying, wounded, resistance, immunity, and conditions. You have perception here as well as senses. So if you had other types of things, this is probably where you would write down things like dark vision or low light vision. If they're two separate in this edition, I'm not entirely sure, but that's probably where you would write that down. Or if you had like blind sense or something like that, that's where that would go. And then we've got our combat section. So we got melee strikes and range strikes, and they got the little symbol. Looks like the battle axe head or the great axe head. Which is actually kind of cool. Again, some nice little design elements here. But you got all the basic information that you need. So you have the weapon's name, your total bonus goes inside the axe head symbol there, and then we have your strength bonus, your proficiency bonus, and the item bonus. What the damage is, so what the dice are, what your strength modifier is, BP or S, so bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. And then some other information that it might have. So you got 3 of those, and you actually have 3 different range weapons here. So you have an extra range weapon slot that you can use as well. So if you have like say a short bow, a throwing dagger, and something else like a javelin maybe, you'd have spots for all 3 of them. So that's pretty cool. And the weapon proficiencies are incorporated at the bottom of that part of the sheet. And then we have our skills. So it's just a vertical list instead of having it split up over 2 columns. And the skills are, I think they're all still the same. I don't think they've changed any of them. But we'll just go through, and so we have acrobatics. Whoops. So we have acrobatics, arcana, athletics, crafting, deception, diplomacy, intimidation, 2 spots for different types of lore. And then we have medicine, nature, occultism, performance, religion, society, stealth, survival, and thievery. So the number of skills have stayed the same. They haven't modified or changed the names of any of them or incorporated some into other skills. We get to focus. And then we got a spot down here for our languages, which is pretty cool. All right, so on to our second sheet for our second page for the new character sheet. And we are similarly going to go to the second page of the playtest one. So this one, not as much in terms of things to discuss or explain. And we're actually going to just zoom back out for a second here. But this is essentially our feats section, as well as equipment. And it looks like more or less most of these things have carried over from one sheet to the other. So we'll start with the playtest sheet. So we have ancestry feats and abilities, class feats and features, skill feats, general feats, and bonus feats. And then we have our bulk here, along with so our items, our bulk calculations, and then we also have a spot for resonance. So on the second edition, the finalized sheet, we have the ancestry feats and abilities, which is cool. Skill feats, general feats, and then feats and abilities. Class feats and abilities. So looks like we got pretty much the same bit of information. One thing I do like in the new sheet compared to the playtest one is if you look at like the class feats and features, you just have like first, second, or second, third, fourth, fifth. So it doesn't really, give you a lot of stuff to work with there. However, or it doesn't easily distinguish between a feat and a feature. But this one does a very good job of that. So you have, feature first level, feature first level, feat first, feat second, feature third, feat fourth, feature fifth. So you know which one's which, and that does make a difference. It's if the class feats, if they're all incorporated into one, it may not be as big of a deal, but it's still good to know if it's a feat or one of your class features, just so that you're not having as much trouble trying to locate the information in the book. And again, I don't know what the layout is for the finalized version, if all of the feats are together. and then broken down by class on a chart, or if they're still incorporated into the character class. I don't know that information as of yet, but I still like the fact that they distinguish between whether it's a feat or a feature. And we have the same thing here. So we have, you know, first level, we have special, heritage, and then regular feat. Special might be for like the bonus human feat, for example, because there's 3 options here instead of just 2 that we had there. And we got the skill feats, general feats, and then we got our inventory section. I do also like the way that they have, you know, they have like worn items, readied items, and other items. So these are, you know, things that you either you have directly on your person, you have, you know, at hand, or that you may have stashed away somewhere else. So that is good information to have. We have our bulk here, little backpack symbol. Again, it sort of got cut off a little bit with the lack of ink. But then we have our speeds, we have encumbered, and our maximum, which we had here as well. So that is information that did carry over from the other sheet. And then we have our copper pieces, silver pieces, gold pieces, and platinum pieces. So we have our coinage there. The coinage does not look to be on... Oh no, there it is. Never mind. It's at the top of this sheet instead of being at the bottom. But again, this is a pretty well laid out sheet as well. I do like that. And then we have this third sheet, and we're just going to go to... so this third sheet looks like it is an expansion of the information that wasn't carried over onto the first page of the... from the first page of the playtest sheet. So we have here, for example, the actions and activities, as well as reactions and free actions. So we have our actions and activities, free actions and reactions here, and then we'd have just some campaign information. So you have a section for campaign notes, allies, enemies, and organizations that you may interact with. Which this would be good at least for, you know, like point form or just basic names. But if you really want to take notes, I still recommend having like an actual folder with you, or scribbler, or clipboard with loose leaf on it to track your notes. Some sort of like scribbler is what I would recommend the most, because you can do them in chronological order and you don't have to worry about messing them up. Because, you know, God knows I have lost so many pages of notes and stuff just from shifting things around for the various campaigns that I've run. But we also have up here, we have a section for a character sketch. And then we have some interesting information up here as well for your character. So you have ethnicity, nationality, birthplace, which is not on the playtest one at all. We have age. And then we have gender and pronouns, height, weight, and appearance notes, which is pretty cool, like scars and stuff like that. Personality, we have attitude, beliefs, likes, dislikes, and a spot for catchphrases. And when the time comes, because I do definitely want to run some 2nd edition Pathfinder, when the time comes, you better believe I want my players to have catchphrases written down for their character and expect them to use them. So pretty cool there as well. And then we just have the final page of both sheets, actually. So these ones line up a little bit more. So this is the spell section. So on the playtest sheet, we have the caster type. Oh. So caster type, whether you're prepared or spontaneous, and then divine, occult, arcane, occult, divine, or primal. Spell roll and DC. The training levels, spell slots, cantrips, spontaneous slots. And then we have a section for cantrips and then spells. And that just gives you a place to write down the name of them, whether they're prepared or not, how many actions they take, and the ability to heighten them. And so that just carries over. We have spells, a whole column here, a partial column here. Then we have spell points, which I don't see on the other sheet. We're going to look at that in a moment. So the spell points and class powers might be something that just didn't make the cut. I'll know more when I get the actual book, but we all have like spell points, and then we have the powers and a little section for notes. Whereas on this sheet, and this is the 4th and final, we have a section to work out your spell attack roll. with your key ability score, proficiency level, and then your spell DC. Magic traditions, prepared or spontaneous, so you have again arcane, primal, occult, and divine. And I assume you must just like shade in the section that applies. So if you cast arcane, you just shade in the little part of the circle there, the little wedge or triangle. And then you've got a section for your cantrips, innate spells, and then we have focus spells. So focus spells and innate spells may have taken the place of powers. It's kind of hard to say, because again, we don't have this section or the spell points section at all on here. And then we just have 2 columns for the spells, the amount of spells that we have. And then we have like cantrip level, and we have our spell slots per day. So at top is your prepared ones, and it looks like at the bottom is your spontaneous slots remaining. So, and that's what we have there. So that is our 4-page character sheet for 2nd edition Pathfinder, when compared to the 3-page character sheet that we had for the playtest. So overall, I actually really like the new character sheet. You know, I think there's some cool design elements. I just kind of like the way that they, you know, incorporated some things to make it look a little less bland, I guess you could say. So you've got like the armor, you know, the picture of like just the pictures to go along with things. So like perception has a little magnifying glass that you write your total into. You know, hit points having the little heart, armor class having the suit of armor back there, melee strikes and stuff having your like looking like an axe head or an arrow head. I just kind of like stuff like that. So I think that that's, you know, done really well. I like the fact that all the armor class information, you know, is put together here on the top of the sheet, along with you know, your saving throw information, hit points, all that stuff. I like the design of this sheet quite a bit, and I've seen several like, you know, multi-page character sheets as of late. So it's definitely come away from, you know, some of the earlier games where everything fit on like just one sheet or even like cue cards. But I think that they did a really good job layering everything out. The design of things like the class feats and features, or class feats and abilities, I do like the way that they distinguish between feats and features. The same thing with the heritage and any special feats that you have there. So overall, I think that this is a really great character sheet. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. So what style do you prefer? Do you prefer the, you know, the style of the sheet that they had for the playtest with the like the horizontal orientation, or do you kind of like the more, I guess you could say, traditional, you know, style of character sheet? And if there's anything on here that you think maybe it was missing, or again, we don't have the actual rule sets out as of yet, so I can't really determine if there's anything missing or not overall, but I just, you know, what do you guys think of the layout, and which style do you prefer? Because I'd love to hear that from you guys in the comments below. And once again, I just want to thank everyone, you know, for sticking with me while I just desperately needed to take some time to just try to survive the summer. And like I said, hopefully August will be a little bit more active, because I'll be covering a bunch of Pathfinder 2nd edition stuff during that, as well as a few other videos that I have planned that I just haven't gotten around to working on yet. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.